Hey all, Chris from Street Cleaning Windows of the Fylde Coast. Had massive support from people on YouTube, people getting in touch via email, via Instagram Messenger, via Facebook, and even a handful of people who have had conversations with over the phone. Again, massive thanks to those that interact in a positive light and all this sort of good stuff for the channel. And let's see if we can sort of push on, create a community and get information to where it needs to go. We've had a number of, I've had a number of questions. One particular sort of stood out, which is, sort of setting boundaries with customers. Again, I've done a video on this in the past, but it's something that does keep cropping up. Scott from Bradford, Yorkshire, who's basically sort of reached out and said, how would you manage a customer that refuses ultimately to keep their garden tidy? Long grass is becoming a problem, dog mess, etc., and all this sort of good stuff. Any advice would be grateful. You have to look at having these awkward conversations, to be honest with you, as early as possible. So as soon as something irks you, if you like, then be polite, be professional, etc., and reach out and have a conversation with the customer on, sort of a level understanding. Don't sort of talk down to anybody. Try and get the customer to relate to you as a contractor, to your lads, etc., the problems that you face, and at the same time understand the problems that they face. So for example, I had a customer up until literally about 2 weeks ago, lovely gentleman, his name was Alan, and I've had him for years. Absolutely, I've had him from maybe within the first sort of 2 years of me starting my business. To be honest with you, he's been really supportive. He's a lovely chap. Makes a good brew, so it's always good. And in the early days, there was no problems. The garden was well kept, etc. The dog mess was tidied up after, etc., and all this sort of good stuff. And a couple of times in the last sort of 3 months, this is sort of, things have taken a bit of a turn for the worse, if you like. And I've been sending my lads out to do window cleaning on his property, etc. And we've had things like overgrown bushes interfering with the windows, i.e. covering the windows to the point where, there's a good chunk of that, but a good chunk of the window is covered by the bush and there's no real way you can get it clean, etc. That in itself isn't too big a drama. However, what is a bit of a drama is that the grass was getting literally a foot high. You were getting cat mess, dog mess, that kind of gubbins appearing in the front lawn, and it's not a pleasant working environment. So, my lads made me aware of it, etc., and said, Chris, can you have a chat with him? He's, it's not really on this. So, bit of context as well. So the Alan, as a gentleman, he's getting on now. He's like he's in his late 70s, what have you. His mobility is pretty poor, and can't get a gardener to save his life. To be fair, getting older contractors, a reliable contractor for gardening or window cleaning, these kinds of services, the service-based businesses that we offer, as rare as rocking horse poo at times. So excuse me a sec. So we have a problem. There's dog mess, the garden's unkept, etc. But the guy's a really reliable customer. Do I let him go? Do I not? So when the next time came round for us to do his windows, which was a fortnight, because he was a fortnightly customer and a good payer as well, I went round myself to do the job myself, because it's been a while since I've done that street, because normally the lads take care of it, etc. the lads made me aware of it, and I'm thinking to myself, right, well, I actually need to see this for myself. So I went down in my van, I added that job onto my sheet for the day, and then I went down to take a quick nosy, have a bit of a look, and see if anything had changed, or if it was as bad as what the lads were making out. And you're only going to know this by turning up and having a quick nosy yourself. So, you know, sure as God made little apples, we turn up. The garden was really bad. In fact, if anything, it was probably worse than what the lads were saying. So I didn't even roll out the line, to be honest with you. The grass was knee high. There were vines, spiky vines from, like, you know, thorn bushes, etc., you know, weaving the way across the lawn. The bushes were overgrowing 2 of the 5 windows at the front of the bay. So, you know, it was in clip, quite frankly. It wasn't ideal, and it's not sort of, you know, so it's not good. So anyway, I had a bit of a chat with Alan. I was very polite with him, because at the end of the day, he's a lovely bloke, and I wouldn't wish any ill on him, and I don't want to have a falling out with him. So I just basically explained to him, listen, I'm really sorry, Alan, I can't send lads round to your property with the garden as it is. You know, it's a safety concern. Also, there's dog mess, etc., you know, to the point where I can smell it from the front, you know, from the street kind of thing. It's not pleasant. And I just said to him, you know, you've got my card, and I gave him another copy of my card just in case he didn't. And I just said to him, listen, you've got my phone number, Alan. As soon as you can get yourself a gardener squared away, we'll come back. But I can't keep sending the lads to your property. I appreciate, and again, I appreciate he's got a problem finding, you know, reliable gardeners, etc. But with the best will in the world, I can only control what I can control. We don't offer gardening maintenance services. We just don't. And there is nobody that I know that is reliable in that field, to be honest with you, that's not, you know, that's got availability. So the reality was, we had a bit of a problem. You know, I had a choice: could I carry on, could I not? And the reality is I wasn't comfortable going into that garden as it was, you know. And so ultimately, I just said to him, you know, we'll come back, not a problem. When you find yourself a reliable gardener, it's all squared away, not a problem. And I made it clear that it's nothing personal, that he is, and will be in future a really, really reliable customer, and we love doing work for him. But from a safety perspective, I could not send my lads into that garden, and it's quite rare that we have that kind of conversation, to be honest with you, because safety is the main thing. If you're sending contractors or employees into an area, then you have a duty of care ultimately, and even if it's not your garden, you're still sending them there to do work. So ultimately, you know, there's a safety concern, then it needs addressing. But yeah, sometimes you just have to have these awkward conversations, and, you know, be polite, be professional, and, you know, and make it clear that it's not personal. And I think the older generation, when people don't turn up again for work, so for argument's sake, let's say if I decided to just completely chin them off, completely ignore them, not, you know, and literally go, right, we've done his windows for last time, bang, never talk to him again, and just not go back. The elderly generation, obviously, courtesy is a big thing. It's something that seems to have sort of died off, has gone out of fashion, having courtesy and good manners. So if you can ultimately have good manners, and I made it, you know, and the thing is as well, it's not a case of, I wasn't comfortable sending my lads to have that conversation with the customer, because ultimately they're my customers. And if you need to put the price up, if you need to, for whatever reason, cancel, if you need to cease services altogether for whatever reason, then ultimately you should have the minerals to have that conversation face to face as a business owner, and shouldn't really palm that off on the guys that work for you. In an ideal world, in a company my size, there's no reason why I can't have these conversations and leave my lads to do what they're paid to do, which is to ultimately carry out the window cleaning, etc. So even though I had that really awkward conversation, as it turns out, it wasn't that bad an outcome, to be honest with you, because Alan truly appreciated me taking the time to come down and have a face-to-face conversation, even if it wasn't the most positive of conversations. So yeah, be open, be polite, be professional, and make it clear that it's not personal. And I don't think you're going to have very many dramas, to be honest with you. All people ask generally is for you to treat them as they treat you, and I'm more than happy to reciprocate, be that in a positive light or not. So yeah, I'm gonna grab a coffee, I think, because it's absolutely battering it down with rain. Wish me luck. All the very best, peeps. Have a good one and keep on keeping on.